Welcome back to Absolutely Marvel and DC, and apparently Netflix this week. My name's Benny, that is Sal, and I'm going to tell Sal what I disliked about Jupiter's Legacy.
Yeah, it's funny because you watched all of it.
I did?
Watched the first episode, so I think I liked it less than you because I literally didn't watch any more of the show after that. And I feel bad because this is our job, but I'm supposed to be watching Jupiter's Legacy. But after the first
plan
episode,
was you would
like,
watch 1 and 8, and I would watch all of it.
Yeah, and I just never got around to it, and I apologize for not making the time to watch the end of the show.
Okay.
But from what I understand, it ends on a cliffhanger, and it's like, who has the?
That's the first thing
I don't watch shows.
I'm gonna spoil a lot of the show for this review at this point, but so first off, Jupiter's Legacy got canceled before I finished the show,
Right.
and then I got to episode 8, and it's a massive cliffhanger.
Boo.
So the show, okay, first off, for a superhero show, the costumes felt off entirely. The wigs for the modern day was terrible. I don't know why they chose to do this split storyline. So the show is broken into two plots. One that I did not give two shits about,
That's
and
the
one
present.
that never gets properly answered.
That's the past.
And I Googled it to see if he answered it in the comic, and Mark Millar does not do that.
There's no answer?
There's no answer.
Oh, that sucks. That sucks
Even
on
in
toast.
the comic, because I got to the end and I'm like, all right, well, let me Google the wiki and go buy the comics and finish this plot line.
Yeah.
The show is about the 1940s or 20s. It's the
20s.
economic crash, the
Yes.
Depression, okay?
Yeah.
Main character's dad commits suicide. He then gets weird visions that tell him to go to an island.
Yes.
He rounds up a group of friends. They all go to the island. And dude, okay, the story that I was interested in was Indiana Jones on a crazy adventure. They went to like Skull Island. They were like trying to convince people to do these tugboats through terrible areas. They had trees growing out of the walls. It was fascinating. And then they would pause the interesting plot
Yes.
because the daughter is so upset with her dad.
I know. Because he'd rather save thousands of lives than get ice cream with her. Right.
And that's literally her entire argument. When people ask her, she's like, I'm tired of being referenced as the Utopian's daughter. Do you know what standards I have to live up to? Oh, boo-hoo. Like,
Yeah. I genuinely couldn't care less about that.
not only could I not care less, it's also a story that has been done so many times. Take out the powers, and it's every teen drama show of like, my dad is wildly successful and I don't know what to do with myself, so I'm going to go cause problems for the local boys. Oh no, now they have to save me from falling off the bridge. Like, it's the same goddamn plot, but with powers.
Pass.
Okay, so on top of that, right? They don't even use the goddamn powers much, Sal. Like, the entire show, the use of their powers is them coming in on wires because they're flying in. Like, and then we'll see them punch something. There's no real power usage. The occasional, I remember one particular fight where the van got stopped because they crashed into the girl. Two people got out. One flew like through ice. The other did some kind of siren thing. Superpowered girl launches them both into space, and that was the fight.
Ugh.
Like, where's the interesting powers and like the effects? I'm watching a superhero show.
I mean, even the first episode, I saw at least 2 or 3 superhero fights, including the last one, which was, what have you done? We're fighting like Mongol dark side discount.
That was the fight in the series. That was
sucks.
it. There's no other fight like that in the series. The series opens on a traditional bad CGI MCU fight. I'm sorry, MCU fans. 90% of them look like crap, okay? Like, you put epic music and explosions and I'll accept it. We've all accepted them for what they are, and that's what that fight was. And I was like, okay, that's why I'm on board. We're going to have... That doesn't happen again. The most interesting fights is in the Mindscape, where it's all CG.
Right. Well, I mean, I remember when they announced that Netflix was going to be adapting the Millerverse, which makes perfect sense. It's actually a 20-year-old plot of a movie called Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, where superhero franchises after X-Men hit the box office were being gobbled up by studios to make their own franchises. What they didn't, just replace franchise with cinematic universe, and you've got yourself the exact same plot. And in that plot, Miramax chooses Bluntman and Chronic. In this reality, Netflix chooses Mark Millar's suite of universes. And I remember, like, when they announced that, they were like, we're going to do Magic Order, we're going to do Jupiter's Legacy, we're going to do Reborn, we're going to do this, that, and the other thing. Although we've already adapted, like Wanted and Kick-Ass, so you're not going to get those. And boy, wouldn't it have been really cool, a good idea to get Chloe Grace Moretz to come back and just do a Hit Girl show. But they didn't do that. Instead, they made these adaptations. And then when they released that poster, and one of my local comic book stores has a stack this high of Jupiter's Legacy teaser posters that is the exact same image, and it's whatever his name is, Jesus sitting in the chair, and he's got his terrible looking fake beard, his terrible looking long hair, and everybody's standing around him. And I remember seeing that teaser and just thinking to myself, like, there's like this superhero arms race going on right now, or superhero cinematic franchise arms race going on. Amazon, Netflix, Disney Plus, HBO Max, everybody's got one. And everybody's trying to get your attention, right? Because everything is a competition for your eyeballs. From us to Warner Brothers to Disney to an ice cream man. Everyone's trying to get you to look at them and buy their stuff. And I remember just seeing that poster and going like, I think this is the beginning of the end. Like, I think when I remember literally thinking, when this show fails, I think it's going to shock people out of going like, I think superheroes are kind of stupid, actually. Like, I really, really genuinely felt like, because the costumes were so Batman and Robin, because the premise was so esoteric, and because the just the audacity of it. Like, we're going to do a whole show of this thing you never read, except for you 12 people over here, and we're going to make so many more of these things, and you're welcome. And that when the first one fails, it's going to be a domino effect. And, like, when Black Widow comes out, people are going to go like, I literally just spent a whole pandemic watching all these friggin' things on TV. Am I really gonna go see a movie about a character that's dead? Like, do I really care that much? Like, it's gonna be the Trojan horse in the kingdom that's gonna just invade and destroy everyone's fascination and interest in superhero and comic book adaptations. I was like that prophetic about this show, and the fact that the show is canceled, but they were still like, but we still have to make a franchise, so we're gonna spin it out. We're gonna make it about the villains. Like, you have no idea what you're doing. No. You have no idea. Well, it's just that you have to do this because you have a contract.
Yeah. Well, so the big issue I have with the show. Yeah. First off, half the show is interesting. Half the show is about a mysterious code that goes into his brain, and it tells him to go to this island. The island is alive. The island is controlled by what appears to be aliens. It has it gives you these insane powers, and you had to prove that you were worthy of these powers. Mm-hmm. That was cool. It was Indiana Jones. It was Kong and Skull Island. It was an interesting plot, and it was buried behind this modern day plot about Superman and Lois Lane, Superwoman, whatever you want to call her, and their kids. One of which it kills at the beginning to save people. Yeah. One of which wants nothing to do with their parents, and that's the plot.
Right.
And the modern day plot spins its wheels.
Yeah.
For all 8 episodes, because that's the cliffhanger. The cliffhanger is the guy that showed up at the beginning is a clone of the real one.
Yes.
And no one knows where he came from.
Right.
And the whole 8 episodes is troubled girl, woe is me, my dad is famous, and you don't know what it's like.
That's the whole thing, because it felt like that was going to be like a trope, like the first episode, I'm drinking at the table, I'm selling, I'm posing for Playboy, I'm doing everything the opposite of what my dad wants me to do, and then something happens.
Yeah,
like that. I expected and then something happens, and maybe the son becomes the villain, and the daughter has to become she has to rise up to where the son is, like some kind of actual.
Maybe that was season 3, because this one spins its wheels for the entire season, where they introduce another character that is the villain's son.
Okay.
And it's like, he's got a cool device that lets him teleport like his dad did. It's a cool idea.
Yeah.
So that's a thing. That goes nowhere.
Boo.
Like, he just shows up. They imply that he's in the drug world and he's trying to traffic drugs, trying to figure out stuff. And it doesn't go anywhere. He shows that he's powerful and then ends up dating the Utopian's daughter. And then that becomes the plot. Oh, the villain and the daughter are dating now. What does that mean?
That's
while this is happening, the guy in the old man makeup that obviously is not old.
Right.
He's tapping into the mindscape of the clone, trying to get answers. And we discover that it's actually the villain who made the clone to fight the superheroes. And the cliffhanger is, no, it's not. It's the old man guy in the old man makeup, the brother, who arranged this whole thing so that he can make it look like the villain did it.
Yeah, of course
so that
he
can take control. And that's the cliffhanger.
Yeah, that's like, you knew that from episode 1, that he was the bad guy.
But then, so you mean to tell me we had 8 episodes where he was trying to hack into the mind of the clone that he made. That he made.
Yeah.
So that him alone in the mindscape can then come out and tell everyone that it was this other villain?
Right.
And there's like a
weak.
little extra plot on top of that where he has to go get his daughter to help him tap into the mind. But she can't go in the mind. She keeps the door open. So she's not even in there. So you mean to tell me he went in there for no reason?
Yeah, right, because he already knew it was in there because he put it there in the first place.
Right.
Yeah, that's pretty weak. That's pretty weak. And the other thing that you brought up about how like the island was never paid off in the comics and how that was the big kind of like, what's up with the island?
Yeah, the island is what I was interested in.
Honestly, I don't care about the island. Like, I care about character. And if the characters are interesting, I'm down. I am excited for, like, the idea of Indiana Jones meets Spider-Man. Like, I'm interested in that. I'll watch that. But, like, I don't necessarily care about the origin of people's powers. The origin has to be quick, dirty, and iconic. That's all you got to do. And then move on. Because it's not, every time that they reintroduce, Superman's origin, but Rogol-Zar, or Spider-Man's origin, but the Thousand, some stupid addendum to an already iconic origin, it just diminishes it. And it's like, it's never as interesting as going forward, as actually advancing the story about this character by themselves.
What the show could have easily been fixed, and I think that's what irritates me. Netflix came out of the gate with this idea that they were going to have a multi-series, multi-season big franchise.
Yeah.
If that first series was just about them getting their powers, it would have been crazy interesting.
Yes.
If that first series was just the modern day plot and we got to the big reveal that he's the villain midway through and we progressed it, it could have been interesting.
Yeah.
But I felt like they were so focused on making this big show. This big thing. It's a big franchise and multiple series and multiple seasons. And then cut the budget on the looks, that they ruined it. There's so much talking, so much exposition, so much just leading you on for no payoff.
Yeah. Yeah. The other problem that I'll say, and it's like part of the reason why I think Jupiter's Legacy is the beginning of the end, is because we're at like a weird golden age right now of superhero TV multimedia, of comic book multimedia, where anything that has a previously established audience that is an IP can and probably will be exploited, right? They will make a thing out of everything. And especially if it's a comic book that has any cachet. But the CG/budget/visual department, it's not there yet. Yeah. So it's like, and in 10, 15 years, they will not throw all the money at Milk and Cheese or Too Much Coffee Man or Scud the Disposable Assassin. Like, they're not going to make all that stuff. They could right now, because there's 4 or 5 super billionaires who all want to be the mega ultra super billionaire, and they're all throwing their streaming services at each other. But that won't happen. It has to reach a terminal velocity at some point. And it sucks because we're not there yet. So it's like everything they make, it's like, oh, they're finally making my favorite thing. And it's not going to look half as good as it could if they actually made a movie or if they spent the time to work on it or if they just friggin' waited because everyone's just rushing to get to the finish line. And it's just, I
think that's a bullshit. This series, this season could have been incredible.
Right.
You could have told a solid story that had a beginning and an end.
Yep.
You could have told the 1920 story. You could have told the modern day story. But it feels to me like they wanted to tell both stories and they wanted them both to be on cliffhangers. Yeah. So that they both they almost wanted to do an Arrow thing, but expected there to be 5 seasons.
Yeah.
Like, instead of just telling me a story that concludes, everything is on a cliffhanger. Because even the island plot ends with them getting the powers and then leaving, and then we get glimpses of things throughout the history.
Ugh.
So they left it all open to be filled in as to what happened to the 7 initially, or whatever they are. I don't think they're called the 7.
No, but it's still I think that's the boys. Which
it's the boys. But what I'm saying is just They tried way too hard to come out of the gate like, we're making a franchise.
Yeah.
When all you had to do was make a
good
great
thing.
superhero show.
Yep. Yeah, and it's funny because, you compare it to everything. Like, Amazon did The Boys. I think that they were like, I mean, if we get a season 2, great, but like, if not, whatever. Like, look at the success of a show like Heroes. When Heroes debuted, they had no expectations of getting a season 2. So they just threw everything they could at making the best possible show they could. And then what happened was it reached more than they expected, and it wound up being successful. And then they were like, oh, shit. Because Heroes is a terrible show. If you proportionately
It's a terrible
look at,
show after season 2. I'll agree 100%.
after season 1's over, that's it. Like, it's a bad show.
Season 1 is amazing.
Yeah.
Season 2 is a great epilogue. Season 3 and
season
onward
2
is terrible.
Well, it's like, yeah. And that's the thing. It's like season 2, it's like we didn't know we were going to get a season 2. So I guess we'll just throw everything else we've got at this show.
Yeah, like it was a lot of plot resolution for season 2, which is okay.
Yeah,
and
that's
then,
okay.
And then it just kept going. I remember the season that made me lose interest in Heroes was the one where Siler was at the carnival. He works at a carnival now because he has no memories. And I'm like, I'm done.
I don't care about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, this has been me ranting about Jupiter's Legacy.
Yes.
I'm going to title this one Benny Rants About Jupiter's Legacy to Sal.
Great.
Let me know in the comments down below what you thought about it. Getting to the end of it, there's so much potential that was wasted. Honestly, I should have just stopped at 1 with you and gone off and watched Superman and Lois and CW.
Yes, because that's funny because remember when we all watched it and Dylan was like, meh, and I was like, okay, it's okay. But now you all are like, this is the greatest show. Like it reached a certain number and it was
apparently
like, this is great.
At 4 onward, it got good, and I just haven't gotten back on board yet. And
me either. I check it out.
I chose Jupiter's Legacy instead.
Yeah, lucky me.
Anyway, guys, thank you so much. We'll see you next time right here at Absolutely Marvel and DC.